The USS Phoenix moved through the darkness of space like a metal whale swimming through an ocean of stars. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the fourth planet of the Kepler 442 system grow larger on the main screen. The planet looked peaceful from space, covered in purple and green clouds that swirled slowly around its surface. "Sir, we're picking up those strange energy readings again," said the communications officer. "They're coming from the northern continent. About 50 miles from where we plan to land." Jake nodded and turned to his science officer. "What do you think, Dr. Carter? Should we check it out?" Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her computer screen, her eyes bright with curiosity. She was the best biologist in the fleet, and Jake trusted her judgment completely. "The energy patterns don't match anything in our databases," she said. "But they seem organic somehow, almost like they're alive." "Alive?" Jake raised an eyebrow. "I know how it sounds," Lisa said, pushing a strand of brown hair behind her ear. "But look at these readings. They pulse like a heartbeat, and they respond to changes in the environment. Whatever's making these signals, it's definitely worth investigating." Jake made his decision quickly. "Tony, get your gear ready." Taking a shuttle down to the surface, Security Officer Tony Rodriguez grinned and started checking his weapons. Tony was a big man with kind eyes and quick reflexes. He had been Jake's friend for over 10 years, and they had been through many dangerous missions together. "Finally, some action," Tony said. "I was getting tired of staring at empty space." The shuttle ride down to the planet's surface was smooth. The atmosphere was thick but breathable, and the gravity was only slightly heavier than Earth's. As they flew over the northern continent, Jake could see vast forests of strange trees that seemed to glow with their own light. Rivers of silver water cut through the landscape like veins of liquid metal. "There," Lisa said, pointing ahead. "Those structures. They're definitely not natural." Jake looked where she was pointing and felt his breath catch in his throat. Rising from the forest floor were dozens of buildings that looked like they had been grown rather than built. They were smooth and curved, with no straight lines or sharp corners. The walls seemed to pulse with a soft blue light that traveled up and down their surfaces like flowing water. "I've never seen architecture like that," Tony said, his voice full of wonder. "It's beautiful." The shuttle landed in a clearing near the largest building. As they stepped out onto the planet's surface, Jake could smell something like flowers and rain in the air. The ground beneath their feet was soft and springy, covered with a carpet of plants that glowed faintly in the dim light. Lisa immediately pulled out her scanning equipment and started taking readings. "Jake, you need to see this," she said, her voice excited. "These buildings aren't just made from organic materials. They're organic. They're alive." "What do you mean, alive?" Jake asked, walking over to touch one of the walls. The surface felt warm under his gloved hand, and he could swear he felt a pulse, like a slow heartbeat. "The walls are made of some kind of living tissue," Lisa explained, her scanner beeping rapidly. "But it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's plant-like, but also has characteristics of animal cells. Look at this." She pointed to vines that grew up the sides of the buildings, glowing with soft, changing colors. "These plants are connected to the buildings somehow. They're sharing nutrients and information." Tony kept watch while Jake and Lisa explored the settlement. The buildings were empty, but showed clear signs that someone had lived there recently. There were rooms with what looked like furniture grown from the same organic material as the walls. In one building, they found a large chamber filled with pools of glowing liquid that bubbled and moved on their own. "This is incredible," Lisa said, kneeling beside one of the pools. "The liquid seems to be some kind of biological computer. It's processing information, but I can't figure out what kind." She reached out to take a sample, but before her hand could touch the liquid, a voice spoke from behind them. "Do not touch the sacred pools, primitive one." All three humans spun around to see a creature standing in the doorway. It was tall and slender, with smooth gray-green skin that seemed to shift colors in the light. It had 4 arms, each ending in hands with long, delicate fingers. Its head was elongated, with large black eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Most striking of all were the patterns of light that flowed across its skin like living tattoos. "We mean no harm," Jake said. carefully holding up his hands to show he had no weapons. "We're explorers from Earth. We detected energy signatures from your settlement and came to investigate." The creature tilted its head, studying them with those dark eyes. "Earth," it said, the word coming out as a soft hiss. "We have heard of your species. You are the ones who spread like a disease across the stars, touching everything with your primitive hands." "No, wait just a minute," Tony said, taking a step forward. "We're not here to cause trouble. We're just curious about your technology." The creature's skin suddenly flashed bright red, and the light patterns on its body began moving faster. "Curious," it said, its voice filled with disgust. "Yes, we know of human curiosity. It destroys everything it touches." More creatures began appearing from other buildings, surrounding the three humans. They moved with a fluid grace that reminded Jake of snakes, and their skin colors shifted constantly, creating a hypnotic display of patterns and hues. "I am Sektar," said the first creature. "I speak for the Vorthok in this place. You've already contaminated our sacred settlement with your presence. Now you seek to defile our biopools with your alien touch." Lisa stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "We don't want to harm anything," she said. "We're scientists. We just want to learn about your incredible biotechnology. The way you've merged living organisms with architecture is amazing." Sektar's eyes narrowed. "You understand nothing, primitive one. These are not mere buildings. They are part of the great bio-network that connects all Vorthok settlements across the galaxy. Each structure is alive, thinking, feeling, and you." He gestured at Lisa with disgust. "You want to cut pieces from them for your crude experiments?" "Not what we want," Jake said quickly. "We respect your culture and your technology. If you'll just give us a chance to explain, ... But Tony, seeing the hostile body language of the creatures surrounding them, made a mistake that would change everything. One of the Vorthok moved too close to Lisa, and Tony thought it was preparing to attack. Acting on instinct, he pushed the creature away from her. The Vorthok stumbled backward and crashed into one of the biopools. There was a sound like screaming, but not from any throat. The liquid in the pool turned from soft blue to angry red, and the lights in all the buildings began flashing in distress. "You have killed it," Sektar hissed, his skin now flashing patterns of rage. "The biomind in that pool had lived for 3,000 years, and you have murdered it with your clumsy touch." The other Vorthok began making clicking sounds that Jake realized must be their language. Their skin colors shifted to angry reds and yellows, and they started moving closer to the humans. "It was an accident," Tony said, but he was already reaching for his weapon. "I was just trying to protect Lisa." "Protect," Sektar laughed, a sound like wind through dead leaves. "From us? You immune-deficient primitives know nothing of protection. We are the Vorthok. We are death itself." Jake felt the situation spinning out of control. What had started as a peaceful first contact was turning into a disaster. He tried once more to calm things down. "Please," he said, "let's talk about this. We can find a way to make things right." But Sektar was beyond listening. "You will make nothing right. Human. You will simply die, and we will learn from your death how to kill the rest of your contaminating species." The Vorthok began closing in, and Jake realized that their peaceful exploration mission had just become a fight for survival. Jake grabbed Lisa's arm and pulled her toward the entrance of the building. "We need to get back to the shuttle now," he said, his voice calm but urgent. Tony was already moving, his weapon drawn but not yet aimed at the advancing Vorthok. "Move." Slowly, Jake whispered. "Don't make any sudden movements that might provoke them further." But Sektar had other plans. He raised one of his forearms, and Jake could see something glistening at the tips of his fingers. Small, needle-like spines emerged from under his fingernails, dripping with a clear liquid that seemed to glow in the dim light. "There is nowhere to run, primitives," Sektar said, his voice now carrying a strange musical quality. "We know every plant, every rock, every hiding place on this world. And we have something you do not." "What's that?" Tony asked, keeping his weapon trained on the nearest Vorthok while backing toward the door. Sektar smiled, revealing rows of sharp white teeth. We have death itself flowing in our veins. We are the galaxy's most efficient killers, hired by dozens of species to eliminate their enemies. We have never failed to find the right poison for any creature we encounter. The three humans made it outside the building, but their relief was short-lived. More Vorthok were emerging from the other structures, surrounding them in a loose circle. There were at least 20 of them now, all with their needle spines extended and dripping with various colored liquids. "The shuttle," Lisa said, pointing toward the clearing where they had landed. "It's only 100 yards away. Might as well be 100 miles, Tony muttered. Seeing how the Vorthok had positioned themselves between the humans and their escape route, Jake activated his communicator. "USS Phoenix. This is Morrison. We have a hostile situation down here. Request immediate backup." Response came through, filled with static. "Copy that, Commander. Help is on the way, but it will take at least 30 minutes for a rescue team. To reach your position, 30 minutes. Jake looked at the Vorthok surrounding them and wondered if they would last 30 seconds, let alone 30 minutes. Sektar began speaking in his own language, a series of clicks and hisses that sounded like music made from wind and water. The other Vorthok responded, and Jake noticed that their skin patterns were changing, becoming more coordinated, as if they were communicating through color and light as well as sound. "What are they doing?" Lisa asked, her voice barely above. A whisper. "Planning," Jake said grimly. "And I don't think we're going to like their plan." One of the younger Vorthok stepped forward, eager to prove himself. His skin was brighter than the others, with patterns that swirled rapidly across his body. He extended his arm toward Tony, and a thin stream of purple liquid shot from his fingertips. Tony tried to dodge, but the liquid was faster than human. Reflexes. It splashed across his left shoulder, immediately soaking through his uniform and reaching his skin. "Tony," Lisa cried out, expecting to see him collapse immediately. But Tony remained standing. He looked down at his shoulder, then back. At the young Vorthok with a puzzled expression. "That's it?" he said. "That's supposed to kill me?" The young Vorthok's skin flashed with confusion. He had just used a poison that would drop a Grakari warrior in seconds and cause a Zenith diplomat to die in convulsions. But the human was still. Standing, still talking, still very much alive. Sektar hissed something sharp at the younger alien, stepped back with his head lowered in shame. Then the leader turned his attention back to the humans. "Interesting," Sektar said, tilting his head as he studied Tony.
"Oh, you should be dead already."
"That poison has never failed before." Tony felt a slight tingling in his shoulder, like a mild sunburn, but nothing worse. "Sorry to disappoint you," he said, managing a grin despite their desperate situation. Sektar's eyes narrowed with scientific curiosity. "Perhaps you are more resistant than most species." "Matter. We have many other options." He gestured to another Vorthok, this one older with darker skin and slower moving patterns. This creature raised both of its upper arms and sprayed a fine mist of golden liquid into the air. The mist drifted toward the humans like glowing fog. "Don't breathe it in," Jake warned, but it was too late. The mist was everywhere, impossible to avoid. All three humans inhaled the strange substance. Lisa felt dizzy immediately and had to lean against Jake for support. The world around her began to spin, and colors became too bright, too vivid. She could see sounds and hear the colors of the alien skin patterns. But after a few moments, the sensation began to fade. "Hallucinogenic," she said, shaking her head. "To clear it, but not lethal. My liver is already processing it out of my system." The older Vorthok looked confused and slightly offended. His golden mist was supposed to cause permanent madness, driving victims to tear themselves apart in confusion and terror. But these humans were recovering in minutes. "Your biology is more complex than we anticipated," Sektar admitted. "We are patient hunters. We will find what kills you." Jake realized that the Vorthok weren't trying to kill them quickly. They were experimenting, testing different poisons to see what would work. The humans had become laboratory specimens. "Not your test subjects," Jake said firmly. "Let us return to our ship, and we'll leave your world in peace." "Leave." Dar laughed that wind thrall. Leave sound again. "You have seen our settlement, breathed our air, touched our sacred biopools. You carry knowledge of our capabilities back to your war-hungry species. No, you will not leave. but you will help us learn how to kill humans efficiently. A third Vorthok stepped forward, this one with intricate silver patterns covering its skin. It moved with the confidence of experience, and Jake noticed that the other alien stepped back respectfully as it approached. "I am Velanosh," the creature said in a voice like distant thunder. "I have killed representatives of 47 different species. Each required a different approach, a different formulation. You will be number 48. Velanosh extended all 4 arms simultaneously. From each fingertip came a different colored liquid: red, blue, green, and black. The streams combined in the air, forming a swirling mixture that landed on the ground near Jake's feet. Where it touched, the glowing plants immediately withered and died. "That combination has never failed," Velanosh said with pride. "It attacks the nervous system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, and the cellular structure simultaneously.
Oh.
No living creature can survive it." The mixture began to evaporate, creating a deadly cloud that drifted toward the humans. Jake pulled Lisa behind him, and Tony moved to shield them both. But there was nowhere to run. The cloud enveloped them completely. Jake felt his lungs burning and his vision blurring. His heart began racing, and he could feel his muscles starting to cramp. Beside him, Lisa gasped and stumbled, and Tony dropped to one knee. "This is it," Jake thought. "This is how we die." But then slowly the symptoms began to fade. His breathing eased, his vision cleared, and his heart rate returned to normal. Lisa straightened up, and Tony got back to his feet. Velanosh stared at them in complete shock. "Impossible," he whispered. "Nothing survives the death mixture. Nothing." "Well," Jake said, wiping sweat from his forehead but still standing, "I guess humans are something new for you to learn about." The Vorthok began clicking and hissing among themselves, their skin patterns flashing rapidly in what Jake assumed was heated discussion. They had never encountered a species that could survive their poisons, and they clearly didn't know what to do about it. Sektar finally stepped forward again, his skin now showing deep purple patterns that seemed to indicate serious thought. "You are either incredibly lucky," he said, "or your species possesses resistances we have never encountered before." "Maybe it's both," Tony said, though he was secretly amazed to still be alive. "We shall see," Sektar replied. "We have many more tests to conduct. And unlike our previous subjects, you seem capable of surviving long enough for us to try them all." Jake realized with growing dread that their situation had just gotten much worse. The Vorthok weren't going to kill them quickly. They were going to keep them alive and use them as test subjects for every poison in their arsenal. And the rescue team was still 25 minutes away. The Vorthok formed a tighter circle around the 3 humans, their skin patterns shifting to coordinated displays of curiosity and frustration. Jake could see that they were communicating silently through their color changes, discussing what to try next. "Lisa," Jake whispered, "do you have any idea why we're not dead yet?" Dr. Lisa Carter was thinking hard, her scientific mind racing through everything she knew about human biology and alien toxins. "I have a theory," she said quietly, "but it sounds crazy." "Crazy is all we've got right now," Tony said, keeping his eyes on the nearest Vorthok. His shoulder, where the first poison had hit him, was still tingling, but he felt fine otherwise. "Earth," Lisa said simply. "Think about our home planet, Jake. What makes it different from most worlds?" Jake frowned, not understanding where she was going with this. "It's got lots of life, diverse ecosystems, ... "Exactly," Lisa said, her voice getting excited despite their dangerous situation. "Earth isn't just diverse, it's hostile. We evolved alongside thousands of venomous creatures: snakes, spiders, jellyfish, plants, bacteria, viruses. Our bodies learned to deal with toxins because if they didn't, our ancestors would have died out millions of years ago." Before Jake could respond, Sektar approached them again. His skin was showing new patterns now, deep blues and greens that seemed to indicate intense concentration. "We have decided to take a more direct approach," Sektar announced. "Velanosh believes you may have some natural resistance to standard toxins, so we will use something more ... personal." The silver pattern Vorthok stepped forward, But this time, he looked different. His skin was glowing brighter, and Jake could see that the creature was somehow changing his internal chemistry. Each Vorthok can modify our poisons based on what we observe, Velanash explained. We study our target, learn their weaknesses, and create a toxin designed specifically for them. No two are exactly alike. Velanash extended one clawed finger toward Jake. A single drop of clear liquid formed at the tip, seeming to pulse with its own energy. This one is made just for you, human leader, Velanash said with satisfaction. Based on your breathing patterns, your heart rate, the way your blood flows, it will stop your heart in exactly 10 seconds. The drop fell toward Jake's arm. He tried to dodge, but Tony pushed him aside and took the hit instead. The liquid soaked through Tony's uniform and into his skin. Everyone waited. 10 seconds passed, then 20, then 30. Tony looked down at the wet spot on his arm, then back at Velanash. Is something supposed to happen? He asked. Velanash's silver patterns began flashing rapidly, showing confusion and disbelief. Your heart should have stopped, he said. The toxin was perfectly calibrated for human physiology. Maybe you need to recalibrate, Tony suggested. With a grin, Lisa was watching everything with growing understanding. It's not just resistance, she said to Jake. Our bodies are actively adapting. Tony's immune system is learning to recognize and neutralize these toxins faster than the Vorthok can create new ones. Sektar overheard her and moved closer, his dark eyes fixed on Lisa's face. Explain this adaptation process, he commanded. Lisa looked at Jake, who nodded slightly. Maybe if she could make them understand, they could find a way out of this without more violence. On Earth, Lisa began, survival meant dealing with constant biological threats. Our livers evolved to process toxins quickly. Our kidneys filter out poisons efficiently. Our immune systems can recognize and respond to new threats in hours instead of days. It's impossible, said another Vorthok, one with red and orange patterns. No species can adapt that quickly. Most species don't have to, Lisa replied. But Earth forced us to become biological survivors. Every day of human evolution was a test of who could best handle the planet's attempts to kill them. Sektar was quiet for a long moment, his skin cycling through different color combinations as he processed. This information? Finally, he spoke. You claim your species evolved specifically to resist biological warfare, he said. This suggests your planet is more dangerous than we believed. Much more dangerous, Jake said, seeing an opportunity. Earth has active volcanoes, violent storms, temperature extremes, radiation, and thousands of species that produce natural toxins. Humans survived all of that. And thrived, Tony added.
Ow, we didn't just survive. We took over the whole planet.
The Vorthok began clicking and hissing among themselves again, their skin patterns flashing in what looked like an argument.
Finally,
An older Vorthok, with deep purple markings, stepped forward. I'm Zeekmer, he said in a voice like old leather. Have lived for 400 years and have never encountered a species that could not be killed with proper biological weapons. You challenge everything we know about life and death. Maybe that's because you've been dealing with species from safer worlds, Lisa suggested. Planets where evolution didn't require the same survival skills. Zeekmer considered this. Perhaps. But we cannot simply accept your word. We must test this theory properly. He raised all four arms, and Jake could see that the older Vorthok was preparing something different. Instead of liquid toxins, Zeekmer was generating what looked like a gas, a pale green mist that swirled around his fingers. This is not a simple poison, Zeekmer explained. This is a biological weapon that attacks the very structure of living cells. It breaks down the barriers between cellular components, causing the victim to dissolve from the inside out.
The gas
began to spread toward the humans, moving like fog across the ground. Jake felt his heart sink. Whatever resistance they had shown to the other toxins, this looked like something no living creature could survive. Jake, Lisa said urgently, remember what I said about Earth being hostile? This gas is basically an extreme version of what some bacteria on our planet can do. Our cells have defenses against this kind of attack. Are you sure? Jake asked, watching the deadly mist approach their feet. No, Lisa admitted. But our immune systems have dealt with flesh-eating bacteria, viral infections that attack cellular structure, and parasites that try to break down our tissue. If any species could survive this, it would be humans. The gas reached them and began to climb up their legs. Jake felt a burning sensation, like standing too close to a fire, but it wasn't the agony he had expected. The burning faded after a few moments, replaced by a strange tingling sensation. Tony was examining his hands, which had been completely covered by the gas. His skin looked slightly red, like a mild sunburn, but he was clearly still alive and intact. "This is not possible," Zeekmer whispered, his ancient voice filled with shock. "That weapon has dissolved the strongest armor, the toughest hides, the most resistant biological defenses. Nothing survives direct exposure. Human skin is pretty tough," Tony said, flexing his fingers experimentally. "We evolved to handle sun, radiation, extreme temperatures, caustic chemicals. Maybe your weapon just isn't strong enough." Lisa was taking readings with her medical scanner, watching the data scroll across the screen. "Amazing," she breathed. "Our cellular repair mechanisms are actually working faster than the gas can cause damage. Our bodies are literally healing faster than the weapon can hurt us." Sektar stepped closer to examine the humans more carefully. "Your species is an anomaly," he said slowly. "You should not exist." "No. Evolutionary pressure could create such broad-spectrum resistance to biological weapons." "Earth did," Jake said simply. "Our planet tried to kill us in every way possible, and we learned to survive all of it." The leader of the Vorthok was quiet for a long time, his skin showing colors that Jake had not seen before, deep, complex patterns that seemed to indicate profound thought. "If what you say is true," Sektar finally said, "then your species represents something we have never encountered. You are not just resistant to our weapons. You are immune to biological warfare itself." Jake heard the sound of shuttle engines in the distance. The rescue team was finally arriving, but he could see that the situation had changed. Vorthok were no longer trying to kill them quickly. They were studying them, trying to understand how such impossible creatures could exist. "That Venom should have killed you in seconds," Sektar said, his voice filled with a mixture of respect and disbelief. Jake smiled, feeling more confident as the shuttle sounds grew closer. "I guess you'll have to find a different line of work." The sound of shuttle engines grew louder as two rescue shuttles descended from the purple sky. Jake could see the USS Phoenix markings on their hulls as they landed in the clearing beyond the alien settlement. "Commander," Kate Sullivan's voice crackled through Jake's communicator. "Morrison, this is Sullivan. We're on the ground with a full rescue team. What's your status?" Jake looked around at the circle of confused Vorthok, then keyed his communicator. "We're alive, Kate, but the situation is complicated. Aliens have been trying to poison us for the last hour." "Trying to poison you?" Kate's voice carried a note of disbelief. "Are you injured? Do you need medical attention?" "That's the complicated part," Jake replied. "They keep poisoning us, but we keep not dying." There was a pause before Kate responded. "Say that again, Commander?" "The aliens are professional assassins who kill with biological weapons," Jake explained. "But their poisons don't seem to work on humans." Sektar was listening to this conversation with growing concern. His skin patterns were showing deep reds and blacks that Jake was beginning to recognize as anger and frustration. "More of your kind come," Sektar said. "How many humans are on your ship?" "Enough," Jake said simply, though he didn't want to. "Reveal the Phoenix's actual crew numbers." The Vorthok leader began clicking rapidly to his companions. Their skin patterns shifted to coordinated displays of yellow and orange, which seemed to indicate urgent planning. Kate Sullivan appeared at the edge of the settlement, leading a team of 12 security officers. She was a tall woman with short, blonde hair and the kind of calm confidence that came from years of military service. "Well," she said, looking at the standoff between humans and aliens, "this is not what I expected to find." "Commander Sullivan," Lisa called out, "be careful. Don't let them inject you with anything. We think we've developed some resistance. But fresh exposure might be more dangerous." Kate nodded and signaled her team to spread out in a defensive formation. But she kept her weapon lowered, not wanting to escalate the situation unnecessarily. Sektar studied the new arrivals with calculating eyes. More test subjects, he said with satisfaction. Perhaps these humans will respond differently to our methods? I don't think so, Jake said, stepping forward confidently. We're all from the same planet, the same evolutionary background. Your poisons don't work on us. They won't work on them either. To prove his point, Jake did something that made everyone, human and alien alike, freeze in shock. He walked directly up to Sektar and held out his arm. Go ahead, Jake, said calmly. Use your best poison, your deadliest weapon. Show my people what you're capable of. Jake, what are you doing? Tony hissed. But Jake ignored him. Sektar looked at the offered arm, then at Jake's face. You wish me to poison you deliberately? I want you to understand something, Jake said. You've built your entire culture around being the galaxy's deadliest killers. But you've never met humans before. We're different. Kate watched in horror as Sektar extended one clawed finger, a bead of dark purple liquid forming at its tip. This poison was different from the others, thicker and more viscous, seeming to pulse with malevolent energy. This toxin has killed representatives of every species we have encountered, Sektar said solemnly. It attacks the nervous system, the heart, the lungs, and the brain simultaneously. Death comes in 5 seconds and is absolutely certain. The poison dropped onto Jake's extended arm and soaked through his uniform to his skin. Kate started to move forward, but Jake held up his other hand to stop her. 5 seconds passed. Then 10. Then 20. Jake looked down at the dark stain on his arm, then back at Sektar. That venom should have killed you in seconds, Jake said with a slight smile. But instead of backing away, Sektar leaned closer, his alien features showing fascination rather than fear. Remarkable, he breathed. You absorb our most lethal creation, as if it were water. Jake felt a strange tingling in his arm, but not the burning sensation he had experienced with the earlier poisons. This felt different, almost energizing. Lisa was scanning Jake with her medical equipment, and her readings made her gasp. Jake, your reflexes just improved by 15%. Your heart rate is more efficient. Your brain activity is showing enhanced patterns. What does that mean? Kate asked, moving closer, but keeping her weapon ready. It means, Lisa said with growing excitement, that the Vorthok poison isn't just failing to kill Jake. It's actually making him stronger. The effect was subtle but noticeable. Jake's movements seemed smoother, more coordinated. His eyes were brighter, more alert. When he turned his head to look at something, the motion was faster and more precise than normal human reflexes allowed. Impossible, Velenash said, his silver patterns flashing rapidly. Our toxins are designed to kill, not enhance. Maybe for other species, Lisa replied, taking more readings. But human biology is so adapted to processing toxins that we're extracting the beneficial compounds while filtering out the harmful ones. Jake tested his enhanced reflexes by catching a small stone that Tony tossed to him. His hand moved to intercept it with inhuman speed and precision. This is incredible, Jake said, examining his hands. I feel like I could run faster, think clearer, react quicker than I ever have before. The Vorthok were backing away now, their confident circle formation breaking apart. For the first time since the encounter began, they looked uncertain, even frightened. Kate stepped up beside Jake, her weapon now pointed at the nearest alien. So let me understand this, she said. They've been trying to kill you with the deadliest poisons in the galaxy, and instead, they've been giving you super soldier serum. That's about the size of it, Tony said, grinning broadly. Turns out humans are harder to kill than anyone expected. Zigmar, the ancient Vorthok, was staring at Jake with something approaching. In 400 years, he said slowly, I've never seen anything like this. You are not just immune to our weapons, you are empowered by them. Sektar's skin was cycling through colors rapidly, showing confusion, fear, and what might have been respect. We are the galaxy's premier bioassassins, he said, his voice quieter than before. Entire civilizations pay us to eliminate their enemies. We have never failed. There's a first time for everything, Jake said, but his tone was not mocking. He could see that this failure was devastating to the Vorthak's sense of identity. What are you? Sektar asked, genuinely puzzled. What kind of evolution creates beings that feed on poison and grow stronger from toxins? It's the kind that happens on a planet that's constantly trying to kill its inhabitants, Kate answered. Earth didn't coddle us. It made us tough, Lisa was. Still taking readings? Documenting everything for the scientific record? The implications are staggering, she said. If Warthog toxins can enhance human performance, you might be looking at a complete revolution in human biology and medicine. But Jake was more interested in the immediate situation. The Vorthok were clearly shaken by their failure, and he didn't. Want this to escalate into a larger conflict, Sektar? He said, addressing the alien leader directly. We don't want to be your enemies. We're explorers, not conquerors. But you need to understand that humans aren't like the species you're used to dealing with. No, Sektar said quietly, his skin patterns now showing deep blues and purples. You are something entirely new, something we were not prepared for. The ancient Zikmer stepped forward, his movements slow and deliberate. Perhaps he said to Sektar, it is time we learned about these humans instead of trying to kill them. Jake could see the debate playing out in the aliens' color patterns. Some still showed aggression, but others were displaying what looked like curiosity and even respect. The question is, Kate said quietly to Jake, what do we do now? Can't just leave them here to attack the next human ship that comes along. But before Jake could answer, Sektar made a decision that surprised everyone. The Vorthok leader slowly lowered himself until he was kneeling on the ground. His forearms spread wide in what was clearly a gesture of submission. We yield, he said simply. For the first time in our history, we have encountered prey that we cannot kill. The hunt is over. The silence that followed Sektar's surrender was broken only by the soft humming of the biostructures around them. Jake looked down at the kneeling Vorthok leader, feeling a mixture of victory and sympathy. He could see that this defeat had shaken something fundamental in Sektar's understanding of the universe. Stand up, Jake, said gently. We're not here to humiliate you. Sektar slowly rose to his feet, his skin patterns now showing muted grays and blues. For 3,000 years my people have been the galaxy's most feared assassins, he said quietly. We believed that any living creature could be killed with the right biological weapon. You have proven us wrong. Kate kept her weapon ready, but lowered it slightly. What happens now? She asked. Do we have a problem here, or can we work this out peacefully? Before Sektar could answer, the ancient Zikmer stepped forward. His movements were slow and deliberate, and Jake could see great age in the way he carried himself. I must understand, Zikmer said, his voice filled with genuine curiosity. Your Dr. Carter spoke of Earth as a hostile world. Explain this to me. How hostile can one planet be? Lisa stepped forward, her scientific excitement overcoming the tension of the situation. Earth has 5 major extinction events in its history, she began. Asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, ice ages, climate changes. Life on our planet has been nearly wiped out multiple times, but it always came back stronger, and humans survived all of this. Asked another Vorthok, one with green patterns that seemed to indicate scientific interest. Not just survived, Tony said, still feeling the enhanced reflexes from Sektar's poison. We conquered it. Humans spread to every continent, every climate zone. We learned to live in deserts, jungles, frozen wastelands, and volcanic islands. Zikmer was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. A world that repeatedly tries to destroy its inhabitants, he said slowly. Such a place would create either extinct species or ultimate survivors. Exactly, Lisa said, warming to the subject. And it's not just the major catastrophes. Earth has thousands of venomous species. Snakes, spiders, jellyfish, plants, bacteria, viruses. Human ancestors who couldn't handle biological threats died out millions of years ago. Tar was listening intently, his skin patterns shifting to deeper colors. Your entire evolutionary history was a biological arms race, he said with growing understanding. Every generation faced new toxins, new diseases, new ways to die. And every generation that survived passed on better defenses to their children. Jake added, for millions of years, Earth kept trying to kill us, and we kept getting better at staying alive. Velanash, the silver-patterned Vorthok, who had tried several poisons on the humans, approached cautiously. "This explains much," he said. "Your biology is not just resistant to our weapons. It is designed to process and neutralize biological threats." "More than that," Lisa said, checking her scanner readings again. "Our bodies are so good at extracting useful compounds from potential toxins that we can actually benefit from exposure to certain poisons." The younger Vorthok, who had first tried to poison Tony, spoke up, his skin showing embarrassed orange patterns. "My weapon was supposed to paralyze the nervous system," he said, "but it only made your reflexes faster. Because human nervous systems evolved to function even when under chemical attack," Lisa explained. "Our brains learn to filter out interference, and our nerves learn to keep working despite biological disruption." Kate was following the conversation with growing amazement. "So you're saying that these aliens accidentally gave us performance enhancements instead of killing us?" "In simple terms, yes," Lisa replied. "Their toxins are so specialized for other species that they miss all the biological pathways that would actually harm humans." Sektar began pacing, his forearms moving in complex gestures as he thought. "We have spent millennia perfecting our craft," he said. "We study each target species, learn their weaknesses, design specific weapons for their biology, but humans have no obvious weaknesses." "Everyone has weaknesses," Jake said diplomatically. "We're just adapted to survive the particular challenges of our homeworld," Ziekmer said firmly. "You do not understand the significance of what we have discovered here. We have tested weapons that have killed every known form of life in this galaxy. Warriors, diplomats, scientists, even artificial beings with synthetic biology. All fell to our poisons. But you three humans have survived. Everything we possess." The implications of this statement hung in the air. Jake realized that they weren't just dealing with local assassins. The Vorthok were apparently known and feared across multiple star systems. "How many species have you encountered?" Kate asked. "Carefully. 47 different sentient species," Velenosh replied, "plus hundreds of non-sentient creatures used for testing and refinement. Till today, we had a 100% success rate. And now?" Jake asked. Sektar's skin showed patterns that Jake was beginning to recognize as deep thought. "We must reconsider everything we believe about life and death," he said. "If humans can survive our weapons, perhaps other species from hostile worlds could as well." "Maybe that's a good thing," Tony suggested. "Maybe it's time to find a different line of work." But Zikmar was shaking his head. "You do not understand," he said. "We are not simple criminals. The Vorthok serve a vital function in galactic politics. We eliminate threats that conventional warfare cannot handle, tyrants who hide behind armies, plague bringers who threaten, entire worlds, rogue artificial intelligences that cannot be reasoned with." "Assassination is a public service?" Kate said skeptically. "More than that," Sektar explained. "We are the final option when diplomacy fails and war would cost too many lives. One carefully placed toxin can prevent conflicts that would kill millions." Jake was beginning to understand the complexity of the situation. "So if your weapons don't work on humans, that changes the balance of power in the galaxy." "Precisely," Ziekmer said. "Other species will want to study human resistance. Some will want to hire humans as bodyguards against us. Others will want to breed human hybrid populations for protection." Lisa looked alarmed at this suggestion. "We can't let humans become biological weapons or living shields for other species." "Agreed," Jake said firmly. "But maybe there's another solution." He stepped closer to Sektar, who watched him warily, but did not back away. "What if instead of trying to kill us, you worked with us?" Jake proposed. "Your knowledge of biology is incredible. Human resistance to toxins is apparently unique. Maybe together we could develop new medical treatments, better vaccines, enhanced immune systems for species that need them." Sektar's skin patterns shifted to colors Jake had not seen before, complex swirls of blue and silver that seemed to indicate surprise and possibility. "You would share your biological advantages with other species?" Sektar asked. "Why not?" Lisa said, her scientific mind racing with possibilities. "If we can help other civilizations become more resistant to biological weapons, Maybe the galaxy becomes a safer place for everyone, including making your services less necessary, Kate pointed out. Zikmer considered this carefully. Galaxy where biological warfare is ineffective, he said slowly, where tyrants cannot be eliminated with a single dose of poison. But where plagues and biological attacks also become impossible, it changes everything, Velanash said, his silver patterns now showing what looked like excitement. Sektar was quiet for a long time, his skin cycling through different color combinations as he weighed the options. Finally, he turned to Jake. Species has defeated us without violence, he said. You have offered cooperation instead of conquest. This is not how we expected this encounter to end. How did you expect it to end? He asked. With your deaths and our continued supremacy, Sektar replied honestly. Instead, we find ourselves obsolete and offered a chance to become something new. Jake extended his hand toward the alien leader. Partners instead of enemies. Looked at the offered hand for a moment, then reached out with one of his 4 arms to grasp it. Partners, he agreed, though I suspect working with humans will be far more dangerous than killing them ever was. Jake smiled as they shook hands. Welcome to the universe, according to Earth, Sektar. It's going to be an interesting ride.